Hello and welcome to the MMA Live Chat Show. I'm Rich Davie and it's Thursday, August 14th, 2014. On today's show, we'll be discussing the UFC Fight Night 47 Bellator versus St. Preux event, and we'll be giving some predictions for the main card here. It looks like I might be doing a solo show here. I'm not quite sure. A couple of guys were supposed to join us early on there, but we've got a bit of a situation where we can't seem to sync up with a couple of the guys, so I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I'll cover as much as I can as far as current MMA news, but I'm just going to go ahead and get started here with the UFC Fight Night 47 Bellator versus St. Preux event, and that takes place August 16th, 2014 at the Cross Insurance Center in Bangor, Maine, and will be aired on Fox Sports 1 starting at 10 o'clock. Whoops. Okay, I have myself joining myself in the conversation there. Okay, let me get back into things here. As I said, that's going to be happening August 16th, 2014 at the Cross Insurance Center in Bangor, Maine, and will be aired on Fox Sports 1 starting at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, first up, the main event, Ryan Bader versus Ovince St. Preux. The number 8 UFC ranked light heavyweight versus the number 10 UFC ranked light heavyweight. And Ryan Bader is 17-4 going into this one, and Ovince St. Preux is 16-5. And this should be an interesting fight. Ryan Bader has fought much better talent overall than OSP, but then again, his losses are to the upper tier of the talent that he has faced, with losses to John Jones, Lyoto Machida, and his most recent loss to Glover Teixeira by TKO in round 1. But he is on a 2-fight win streak, and both of those are 3-round unanimous decision wins. OSP is on a 5-fight win streak with 4 of those wins in the UFC, and his last loss was to Gegard Mousasi on December 17th, 2011 at the Strikeforce Melendez versus Masvidal event. And prior to that loss, he was on an 8-fight win streak. So Ovince St. Preux is 13 wins and 1 loss in his last 14 fights going back 4.5 years now. So pretty impressive, but you know, a lot of things that people are saying is that he really hasn't faced the talent that Bader has. And as I said earlier, yeah, he hasn't faced the same level of talent. But I don't know. I think, looking at things the way that odds makers have Bader favored as a slight favorite, and MMA fans do as well. OSP is 1 inch taller with a 5-inch reach advantage. Both men are 31 years old. Bader has the edge in regard to wrestling and facing better opposition, and that's apparently why the odds makers and fans are basing their preference for Bader to come out on top with the win. But other than that, most of the factors seem to favor OSP. So I'm going to go against the grain on this one, and I'm going to be going with Ovince St. Preux to win by TKO in 2. All right, it doesn't look like the other fellows are going to be joining us here live, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to move on to the next one here. Next up, Gray Maynard versus Ross Pearson, the number 12 UFC ranked lightweight versus the number 27 ranked lightweight. Gray Maynard is 11-3-1 and 1 no contest, and Ross Pearson is 15-7. Looking at my breakdown here, odds makers have this one as a flip of the coin, but fans seem to favor Ross Pearson to come out with the win on this one. Both men are 5'8", but Maynard has a 1-inch reach advantage, and that probably won't play a factor into determining the outcome here. Pearson is 6 years younger, and that typically plays a factor in a favorable outcome for the younger fighter. Maynard is in a bit of a difficult position here. He's only got 1 win on his record in the last 5 fights, and that is a 5-round split decision win over Clay Guida a little over 2 years ago. And prior to that fight, he has a loss to Frankie Edgar and Estrada Edgar before that fight. And prior to that fight, Maynard won a 3-round unanimous decision win against Kenny Florian 4 years ago. Pearson only has 2 wins out of his last 5, but many of the fans believe that he won that fight against Diego Sanchez, and I do as well. Before that fight, his fight against Melvin Calora was ruled a no contest, and the last win on his record was over Ryan Couture by TKO in round 2 almost a year and a half ago. I think I'm going to be going with Pearson by TKO in 2, and I don't know. It doesn't seem like Gray Maynard's head is really where it needs to be. I mean, he's going into this fight talking about possible retirement, and typically when that's the case, the fighters don't really do all that well. That's pretty much mental defeat there. I wish the guy luck. Hope he comes out with the win and can resurrect his career there, but I'm not quite sure that's going to be the case. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one here. Tim Boetsch versus Brad Taveras, the number 14 UFC ranked middleweight versus the number 19 ranked middleweight fighter. Tim Boetsch is 17-7 going into this one, and Brad Taveras is 12-2. My breakdown on this one here: odds makers have Taveras as the respectable favorite, but fans highly favor Taveras over Tim for the win. Both men basically have the same height and reach, but the slight edge does go to Taveras. Taveras is also 7 years younger, and again, that sort of difference in age typically favors the younger fighter. Again, we find a matchup where one fighter has fought better opposition in comparison to his opponent, but comes out on the losing end when he does go up against the more established fighters. But he also, excuse me, but he also has a few wins over some respectable fighters while in the UFC, such as Yushin Okami, Hector Lombard, and C.B. Dalloway. And I'm speaking of Tim Boetsch here. And like Maynard, Tim is in a difficult position here. He's only got one win on his record in his last 4 fights, being a win by split decision over C.B. Dalloway almost a year ago. And his last win before that was also by split decision over Hector Lombard over a little over 2 years ago, which makes him 2 for 3 out of his last 5. And going into this fight, Tim is coming off a loss by inverted triangle Kimura submission at 2:08 in round 1 to Luke Rocco back on April 26th of this year at the UFC 172 event. Taveras is also coming into this fight off of a loss, which was by unanimous decision to Yoel Romero. But prior to that, he was riding a 5-fight win streak, making him 5-1 out of his last 6. But as I mentioned earlier, he's fought opposition that aren't of the same caliber as Tim's opponents. He has some wins over fighters that truthfully haven't fared all that well in the UFC, such as Tom Watson, Bubba McDaniel, and Lorenz Larkin. So it should be an interesting fight, but it'll likely go to a decision. And even though Taveras hasn't fought opposition on the level of Tim's opponents, I think I'm going to go with the younger man here who has a better recent history of success in his fight record. So I'm going to be picking Taveras by decision. Okay, next up, Seth Baczynski versus Alan Juban, the number 41 ranked welterweight versus the number 163 ranked welterweight. Seth Baczynski is 19-11 coming into this, and Alan Juban is 9-2. My breakdown for this one here: this is another fight where odds makers have this one as a flip of a coin, but Baczynski is a slight favorite according to the odds makers, and fans disagree and see Baczynski as a clear favorite to win. This is yet another fight where we have a fighter who has been in the UFC for several years, struggling to accumulate wins in his win column, and that would be Seth Baczynski that I'm talking about. He's 1-3 out of his last 4, and is also going into this fight coming off of a loss. Seth's last fight was a loss by unanimous decision to Thiago Alves back in April of this year. Juban is making his UFC debut and coming into this fight with a recent record of 3-1 and riding a 2-fight win streak as well. Seth seems to have most of the advantages that would indicate a win here. He's 3 inches taller with a 1-inch reach advantage. He's the much more experienced fighter with nearly twice the amount of wins on his record as Juban has fights. He's also has 10 submissions in his win column, and both men are nearly the same age with only 1 year separating them in that category. Despite all of that, I think I'm going to go ahead and go with the newcomer in this one, but I'm going to go, I don't know. I want to go with the newcomer, but I'm having second thoughts here. I was actually going to pick Juban to win this one, but I don't know. I think I'm going to go ahead and go with the more experienced fighter here. I think, I don't know, knowing that he needs a win to remain in the UFC, Brzezinski's probably going to, you know, put it on the line here. But every time I wind up saying that, the fighter that needs that win typically winds up losing. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Brzezinski by sub and 2. Okay, let me move on here to the next one. Sean Jordan versus Jack May, the number 25 ranked heavyweight versus the number 97 ranked heavyweight. Sean Jordan is 15-6, and Jack May is 7-1 coming into this fight. And looking at the breakdown of things here, odds makers have Jordan as a slight favorite, but fans disagree with the odds makers again and have Jordan as an overwhelming favorite. Jordan has the edge in experience and age differential, and he also trains out of Jackson's Mixed Martial Arts. Jack May is a beast of a man. He's standing at 6'8", and he does like to bang. He has an 8-inch reach advantage in height and a 3-inch advantage in reach. May is coming into this fight with a round 1 TKO loss to Derek Lewis, who has 10 KOs and 2 KOs in his win column. And this is the only loss on his professional MMA record. But to be kind, his resume has wins against some talent that's really not all that high of a caliber of opposition there. Jordan has fought the better level of competition, but for the most part, his losses are most recently to higher level competition. Jordan is also coming to this matchup with 2 losses back-to-back. He has lost to Matt Mitrione by KO in round 1, and by KO in round 1 to Gabriel Gonzaga most recently. His last win was a 1-round TKO over Pat Barry at 59 seconds of round 1 a little over a year ago. And he also needs a win in this matchup, where he'll be looking at 3 losses in a row, which would make him 2-4 out of his last 6. Even though Sean Jordan seems to be struggling, I'm going to be picking Jordan to win this one by TKO in 2. Okay, and last up on our predictions for this one here, the opening fight of the main card, Robbie Peralta versus Thiago Taveras, the 26th ranked fighter versus the unranked featherweight fighter. But Thiago Taveras is also ranked the number 51 ranked lightweight fighter. This one should be an interesting fight. 2 of these guys have similar experience and records, and it's going to be a striker versus a grappler bout. My breakdown for this one here, odds makers have Taveras as a slight favorite, but fans see Taveras as a large favorite. Peralta is a year younger, has a 1-inch height and reach advantage, but that likely won't be a factor here. Taveras started out his career at welterweight and fought 4 times at the welterweight division before moving to lightweight, and he has fought most of his fights in the lightweight division since then. This fight will be his debut at featherweight. Taveras has 12 wins by submission, but Peralta hasn't been submitted for about 5 years now. And on the other side of the coin, Peralta has 13 wins by KO, TKO. Taveras has 3 of his 5 losses by way of KO or TKO, and the last 2 losses are by TKO and KO. One in January 2013 and one in March of 2011. Taveras is going into this fight with a first-round submission win over Justin Salas, but that fight was 9 months ago. Peralta is coming into this fight with 2 wins in a row. So I think I'm going to go against the grain once again here and pick Robbie Peralta to win by TKO in 2. So it looks like I'm going out on a limb on a lot of these here because I'm going against the grain. And then we do have ladies fighting on this card as well. Here we have Sarah McMahon versus Lauren Murphy. Sarah McMahon is 7-1 and Lauren Murphy is 8-0. And a lot of people seem to think that Lauren Murphy actually has a decent shot here, and that Sarah McMahon should probably not overlook her. Sarah McMahon is also saying that she had a problem, with her knee. I didn't get to actually see all the news on that, but she did say that she does want the rematch with Ronda Rousey. So I guess she wants to avenge that loss that she has on her record there. And she really didn't look all that good in that fight there. So who knows? Maybe it was in fact an injury that was at issue that caused her to lose that fight so quickly. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the card here, and then I just want to talk real briefly about the postponement of the Jones versus Cormier bout due to a leg and ankle injury that Jones had suffered. I don't know, it's kind of odd that, Jones and Cormier are going to be fighting again. I believe this is going to be pushed off into a UFC 183. I'm not sure exactly if that is the right event or not, but it's going to be, again, Jones versus Cormier, which is, kind of odd, being that, the fight has now been postponed, and, most people would think that the number one contender, which is Alexander Gustafsson, he should probably be stepping in and, getting, the rematch against John Jones. But the excuse that I'm hearing and that's being made is that Jones is the one who actually got hurt, and this is why Cormier is getting the fight, whereas in the other case, Gustafsson is the one who got hurt and had to pull out of the fight with Jones, the rematch that was scheduled just recently. So, I don't know how everybody else feels about that, but I think it's kind of shortchanging Alexander Gustafsson. I think he actually deserves to get the rematch over Daniel Cormier. I mean, and also because the fight was postponed now, the Nevada State Athletic Commission is postponing their investigation into the brawl that took place on stage last week. So kind of funny the way that things are going in that. Why would they postpone their investigation when, their investigation really has no bearing on when the fight takes place? I mean, the investigation at the end NSAC wanted to, hold was in regard to the brawl that they had on stage at the Media Day conference. So, kind of funny the way that things are transpiring in this one here, but, Alexander Gustafsson's not real happy about this. He's actually, protesting on social networking out there, saying that he actually deserves the fight, and that he made a comment, pretty much saying that, the UFC thinks that, a brawl, on stage, is going to garner more fight than the fight of the, I think he said the fight of the century or whatever. I don't know if it's going to be the fight of the century, the rematch with Jones Gustafsson, but it will certainly be, probably fight of the year again. As we all know, Alexander Gustafsson gave John Jones, quite a bit to handle there. And a lot of people actually thought that Alexander Gustafsson won that fight. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. And then another topic that I wanted to cover real briefly here, John Jones and Cormier have a little bit of back and forth on live camera and a hot mic after their television interview on ESPN. And man, it got pretty ugly there, where Jones, thinking that the cameras were dead, called out to Cormier and said, "Hey, pussy, are you still there?" And then it just went back and forth, and things escalated from there, with John Jones threatening to take Cormier's life because Cormier made a comment that Jones is so phony, he doesn't understand how he does it, and he wished that he could get into the room where Jones was so he could spit in his face. And Jones actually made the comment, "You do know that I would kill you if you did that. I would literally kill you," was his comment. So, John Jones is exposed once again as the phony that he's proven to be. When the camera's on, he acts to be one way, and when the camera's off and he thinks he's behind the scenes, as we've seen numerous times now, with direct messages and private messages to other fighters and other individuals. He also disrespected a fan, just this last week. So, the guy is, I don't know. Don't know what to say about the guy, but everything that people were suspecting about him early on there, is unfolding to be true over and over again. So I don't know, John Jones, man, you best soothe yourself there if you would just keep your mouth shut and have somebody else do the talking for you, because you're not ingratiating yourself with the fans who already do not like you. And yeah, maybe people are going to root to see your demise and get beat, but you know, I don't know. It's a shame, man, because he started out to be such a great fighter, humble guy, pious individual. And I actually like those kind of fighters, as I mentioned on the show before. The guys who have, you know, religion and, you know, they seem to, you know, they have, you know, that combined with the, you know, the martial arts training. It seems to be that, you know, they're typically, you know, more down to earth, more reasonable, more respectable individuals. But this is not proving to be true with Jon Jones. And again, I've mentioned before that he's not really a martial arts fighter. He's more of a fighter. And you know, some people have an issue trying to make, you know, the distinguishing between those two descriptions there. You know, just because you fight in, you know, martial arts in the MMA doesn't mean you're a martial arts fighter. And Jon Jones has proved he doesn't really embrace that respect aspect that most martial arts fighters do. Okay, and then there were some more rumors swirling around this week that Gina Carano might be signed to Bellator. Bellator, as everyone knows, has been taken over by Scott Coker and the CEO, I believe, in the position of president. And he actually is the one that brought Gina Carano to, you know, the forefront and the fame and everything like that with Elite XC way back when and the Strike Force MMA organizations. And, you know, there's some rumors going on, and they're not proven to be false yet because Ariel Helwani came out earlier this week and tweeted that Bellator is actually in talks with Gina Carano. So who knows if that's going to come to fruition or not. I actually wrote an article about the rumors that were swirling about Carano signing with Bellator as well. But also things that might make you seem that that's going to come to fruition is that Invicta FC has declined to renew the contract of featherweight fighter Margus Kunin. And you know, it seems that there was more rumors out there that Kunin actually signed with Bellator as well. And when you're looking at two featherweight female martial arts fighters, that makes a hell of a fight. That would be a great fight to see over at Bellator there. But as I said earlier, Ariel Helwani mentioned that Bellator wants to bring back the featherweight division to Bellator, which I think would be great because you know, these, you know, larger women, and I don't mean large women, but I mean, you know, the women who are fighting at 140 and 145, does it really make sense for them to struggle trying to get down to 135 and fight in the bantamweight division in the UFC? Probably not. It probably doesn't suit their, their career to, you know, try to do something like that. You know, as we mentioned before, Gina Carano has struggled, you know, trying to make 140 and 145, and now that she's been out for 5 years now, and she's acting in the movies, you know, she seems to be just a tad bit bigger. I don't know if she's walking around at 155 or what now, but she does look just a little bit larger now. But love Gina Carano. Would love to see her back in MMA, and I would love to see her sign with the UFC, but I think, you know, she's probably better suited to, you know, fight in the 145 division if Bellator is going to go ahead and, you know, bring the featherweight division back to their organization. Okay, there was some more news there, but I'm kind of pressed for time here. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. Don't know when we're going to be doing the next show here, but I want to thank you all for listening, and stop over at MMA Chat. You can see some of the original articles that we've written on the site, and we also have a pick'em contest that goes on for each UFC event that goes on. And it's not making predictions. All you have to do is pick straight up the winner of the matchup. So, again, I thank you all for listening, and this is Rich Davie signing off, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.